It wasn't built to be cool. It wasn't built for status. It wasn't even built for the streets. It was built to win. The BMW M3 E30 was never supposed to become a cultural icon. It was never designed to show up in hip-hop videos or to dominate collector auctions 30 years later. It existed for one reason, to go racing. And yet, today it's seen as the greatest M3 ever made. In a world of high-tech M machines with digital dashboards and drift modes, the E30 stands apart. Raw, mechanical, loud, and now priceless. This is the story of the BMW M3 E30, the car that wasn't just faster than its rivals. It redefined what a street car could do on a racetrack, and decades later, it still hasn't been forgotten. Let's rewind to the mid-1980s. BMW had a problem. Mercedes was dominating touring car racing with the 190E. Audi was wreaking havoc with all-wheel drive monsters. And BMW, proud and competitive, refused to fade quietly into the background. They had a plan. But it wasn't just to build a better race car. They needed to build a better street car. Because back then, homologation rules said, if you want to race it, you've got to sell it. So in 1985, BMW's Motorsport division was given the green light to create something special. The idea? Take the standard E33 series, a pretty modest compact executive car, and turn it into a fire-breathing, track-ready machine. What they built wasn't just fast, it was a revolution on wheels. Under the hood sat the now legendary S14 engine, a high-revving 2.3-liter four-cylinder beast that was loud, twitchy, and hungry for redline. They gave it flared fenders for a wider track, a rear wing, a front splitter, stiffer suspension, quicker steering, better brakes. Everything on the car was built with one purpose: to dominate the racetrack but still be street legal. And it worked. The E30 M3 was born, an aggressive little coupe with big ambitions. But no one, not even BMW, knew just how far it would go. On the surface, the E30 M3 doesn't scream supercar. It's boxy, clean, understated, but that's exactly what makes it so deadly. Because beneath that crisp, squared-off design is pure performance thinking. Every panel, every angle was engineered with purpose. The fenders, not just for looks, they made room for a wider stance and better cornering. The trunk lid and rear window, redesigned for better aerodynamics. Even the side mirrors were reshaped to reduce drag on the track. And the engine? The S14 was built from scratch, part four-cylinder, part Formula One DNA. It revved past 7,000 RPM and sounded like it was tearing holes in the air. No turbochargers, no driver aids, no forgiveness. You didn't just drive the M3, you had to learn it. You had to respect it. It was balanced, precise, and alive in your hands. And that's what made it magic. While other cars were getting softer, quieter, more luxurious, the E30 M3 was doing the opposite. It was going back to basics, and that's exactly what the purists fell in love with. It wasn't built to impress you at a traffic light. It was built to take a corner at full throttle and never flinch. And once the world saw what it could do on the track, it became unstoppable. The E30 M3 wasn't just built for racing. It was built to dominate it. And oh, did it deliver? In its very first season, the E30 M3 hit the DTM, Germany's most competitive touring car championship, and went straight to the top. In 1987, BMW driver Roberto Ravaglia won the title. Not just by a little, he crushed it. But that was just the beginning. The E30 M3 went on to become one of the most successful touring cars of all time. It didn't just win in Germany, it won everywhere. Touring car championships in Britain, Italy, Australia, the World Touring Car Championship, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, the Spa 24 Hours, the IMSA series in the US. And it wasn't doing this with a V8 or turbocharger. It was doing it with a screaming, naturally aspirated four-cylinder and surgical precision. While competitors focused on power, BMW focused on balance, on perfect weight distribution, on predictable handling, on building a car that could be driven at the limit, lap after lap after lap. By the end of its racing career, the E30 M3 had racked up more than 1,500 victories across the globe. No touring car in history comes close. And just like that, the M3 wasn't just a model. It was a motorsport legend. But something strange happened after the trophies were collected, after the race cars were retired, and after the E30 M3 quietly left production in 1991. It didn't fade away. In fact, it got louder, more respected, more wanted. Because while the rest of the world was chasing horsepower wars, bigger engines, and more luxury, the E30 M3 stood still, frozen in time. A snapshot of an era when driving was still analog, pure, and unfiltered. Enthusiasts started chasing them down. Collectors began hoarding them. Forums and clubs were formed around one car, one idea, one feeling. Driving an E30 M3 isn't about flexing on the freeway. It's about feeling everything. The road, the grip, the engine working with you, not hiding behind software. There are no shortcuts, no assists, no illusions. Just you, the machine, and the next corner. And that purity? That's what created the cult. Today, people don't just respect the E30 M3, they worship it. Not because it's the fastest, not because it's the rarest, but because it delivers something most modern cars can't: emotion. And when something delivers that much passion, and there's only so much of it to go around, you already know what happens next. Prices explode. What used to be a $10,000 used car in the early 2000s is now a six-figure collector's item. Pristine examples of the E30 M3, especially EVO models, Sport Evolution versions, or cars with documented racing history, are selling for over $150,000, sometimes even $250,000, and they're still rising. Because here's the deal, BMW built just over 17,000 E30 M3s worldwide, and every year that number goes down. Track damage, rust, neglect. Clean, original M3s are getting harder and harder to find, and people are realizing this isn't just a car, it's a moment in history. So now, the E30 M3 has become an investment, not just for collectors, but for anyone who understands what it means to own a legend. And let's be honest, when you see one driving by, engine barking, boxy fenders flared, rear wing catching the light, you're not thinking about market value, you're thinking, that's what a real driver's car looks like. Fast forward to today, the M3 badge still exists. In fact, it's more powerful than ever. The current G80 M3 has a twin-turbo inline-six, over 500 horsepower, optional all-wheel drive, and a tech suite that could run a small satellite. But here's the question, is it still an M3 in spirit? Sure, it's faster, sure, it's more refined, but with each new generation, something gets added and something else gets lost. You get more buttons, more weight, more software between you and the car. You get bigger numbers, but less of that raw mechanical connection. And that's what makes the E30 so special. It reminds us of what the M3 used to be, a car built from necessity, sharpened on the racetrack, and sold to people who actually cared about driving. Don't get it twisted. Today's M3s are engineering masterpieces, but the E30 wasn't a masterpiece. It was a fighter. A car with dirt under its fingernails and trophies in its trunk. It didn't need to prove anything with data. It proved everything on the road. And in a world full of screens, drive modes, and assisted steering, sometimes all you want is a car that just gets out of your way and lets you drive. It's been nearly 4 decades since the E30 M3 first rolled off the production line, and yet, somehow, it still feels more alive than most cars built today. Because the E30 wasn't made to impress a focus group. It wasn't designed to win Instagram. It was built to chase lap times, and it ended up capturing hearts. From the racetrack to the street, from 80s DTM circuits to 2020s collector garages, the E30 M3 has done what few cars ever could. It became timeless. You don't need to be a car nerd to feel it. You just need one perfect drive, one late-night canyon, 1 second of full throttle in third gear, and suddenly you get it. This car doesn't belong to the past. It still lives in garages, in collections, in the minds of every enthusiast who's ever watched it rip through a corner like it was born to. It's not just a machine, it's a movement, a moment, a masterpiece by accident. The greatest M3 ever made? Some people say yes. The last true M3? More people say yes. But everyone who's driven one says the same thing. I get it now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know. What's your ultimate M3? E30, E46, G80, or maybe something even rarer? And if you've ever been lucky enough to drive an E30 M3, tell us, did it live up to the legend? We already know the answer.